Mel Brooks, whose real name is the same name as Danny Kaye's, Kaminsky. He was born in Brooklyn. His father died of a brain tumor when he was 2 years old. He was the youngest of four children, four boys. His mother, Kitty Brooks, was a Tumblr in her own right. And Mel grew up in Williamsburg, in the same neighborhood I referred to earlier as rife with anti-Semitism. This is before the Hasidim moved in after World War II. And so he said, and it became part of his comedic routine, every small Jew should have a tall goy for a friend. And rather than sustain beatings, as my friends did in Williamsburg, he became class clown and entertained his non-Jewish friends. And he said, if they're laughing at you, how can they beat the crap out of you? He went to war during World War II. He remembered a scene opposite the retreating German soldiers in which he heard them singing the Horst Wessel song in a quiet moment. And he went up to the front lines and he sang, "Toot, toot, tootsie, goodbye, Germans are gonna cry." And of course, that was his shtick. And when he came back, he enrolled in Brooklyn College. Any Brooklyn College graduates here? Gesundheit und Kabbalah, all of you. He lasted 1 day at Brooklyn College. He switched NYU and he lasted another day. And then he got his education in the College of Comedy with Sid Caesar. Every one of his Sid Caesar's situation skits dealing with the crazy German professor was written by Mel Brooks. This was his revenge. Now, Mel Brooks got his training in the Catskills, and his moment of truth came when he was working as a drummer, as well as a busboy, and he heard a chambermaid locked in the closet, and she's yelling, "Los mira rice! Los mira rice! Let me out! Let me out!" And then he saw that as a symbol of our life, that we're all trying to get out of a locked closet. And comedy. So what he did, he would get dressed up in a coat 3 sizes too large. He would take a satchel. He would climb on top of the 15-foot high diving board. And he would declare to the crowd, "Life is terrible. I can't go on. I'm committing suicide." And it was almost true because he didn't swim very well. And he would fall into the pool and be rescued. And that was a way anything to make people laugh. He of course turned his unhappiness. He was married to a very beautiful dancer. They had 3 children, 3 girls. And he then went into psychoanalysis, as many of the comedians that I've studied did. And in fact, my information about them comes from Sam Janis's report. He did the psychoanalysis of these comedians, and he found out that they were highly intelligent, though not very highly productive in an academic sense. And so when he became a filmmaker, his first film was about his Uncle Joe, not Joe Stalin, Uncle Joe, who visited an art gallery. And it was a documentary. It won an Academy Award. That was his debut film because it was so funny and short. It was a short film. And his Uncle Joe is looking at abstract art. And, this is art. This is, and he would put down the art with Yiddish inflections, Yiddish words. And then he came to a piece of artwork that was, had a vertical line here and this later became a bit on the Sid Caesar show, a horizontal lie. And he said, it's too ungepachket. It's too busy. I don't like this. And it was really a commentary on art that doesn't speak to the viewer. Later on, this bit or was derived, you might say, from a famous scene that Sid Caesar performed as Gallipacci. It was a play on a parody of a famous Italian opera called Pagliacci. And I have to sit on the... Gallipacci has learned that his best friend has seduced his wife. And he's sitting at the mirror and he's putting on makeup to go on stage. And he's singing, and he takes his pen and he draws a vertical line. And he continues singing his heart out. Draws another vertical line. And he's not satisfied. And he draws a horizontal line. You see where this is going? And then another horizontal line. And then he draws an X, an O, an X, an O, and an X, and he wins. So this is what comedy was, ability to take something that comes from high art, which the Feinschmeckers, the upper class, knew and loved and paid for, and then to try to bring it down to a common level. Mel Brooks, as the king, plays chess with his pawns, and he has the queen, and he jumps on the queen to checkmate her, and he winks at the audience, "It's good to be the king." And so here you have an unhappy married man doing happy things. And then, of course, this small, ugly Jew, by his own description, marries one of the most beautiful shiksas in Hollywood. And they have a tremendous love affair, which ended with her death. They do films together, To Be or Not to Be, a play that was done earlier by Jack Benny and Carol Lombard. So what Brooks does is to take a Western, this is my climax on the Brooks scene. He takes a Western, which is one of the iconic stories of American culture, and he turns it into a Jewish Western. So he has a black sheriff, and he has all these characters. And then, of course, he has this Indian chief who's standing in the desert as these black... yes, and there's one scene where the blacks are singing not sorrow songs or spiritual, they're singing Cole Porter. And they're going through the desert, and they're being pursued by, of course, the deep state. And he says, "La ze gain, ze seien Schwarzes." So in Dubuque, Iowa, people don't know the Yiddish. So on in big bold print, it said, "Let them go. They're black like us." So they're colored. So what he does in his film work, whether it's Young Frankenstein or Old Frankenstein or not so old Frankenstein, he is injecting Jewish humor into the American scene. And that's why Wallace Markfield, made the assertion that American humor became Jewish humor in the 60s, thanks to Mel Brooks.